Believe it or not, it is time to start a new project. I am going to be doing a winter-themed battle board. Now, the previous battle board I did was a little different than what we're going to do this time. It was dirt and grass, and I left it completely flat because I wanted it to be versatile, be able to make it swamp, jungle, whatever. This one is going to be more specific. It's just going to be winter, so we're going to put some permanent things on here. So we're beginning with our foam insulation. I've cut it into the dimensions I want. I have not yet mounted it on a board or put anything around it, but I will be doing that. And as you can see, it's a very small board. I don't really play any large-scale games anymore. I've lost interest in Warhammer a long time ago. I just didn't have the time and energy to play that large a game. I'm still a huge HeroScape collector. I own a ton of it. I don't play that as much either. I pretty much only play Song of Blades and Heroes. It's a very small-scale, versatile game, and you can get by with such a small board. But if you do play something large-scale like Warhammer, what you can do is make, say, 4 of these that can go side by side, and that way they're easy to store. You can stack them up and then put them all together when you play. Now, I've done something that I never do, which is plan a little bit. Normally I just wing it, but I thought I'd try something different. I looked at a lot of pictures of battle boards online with a winter aesthetic just to get an idea of what I wanted to do, and took some of the things I like the most, and now I've got some ideas planned out. You'll see here and over here these kind of triangular shapes. I'm going to cut those all the way down to the board, make those deep icy pits with sheer sides. I made them almost exactly the same measurements, same distance from the corner and everything, because you want some degree of symmetry in your battlefields, or at least you want to make sure that one side isn't a lot more advantageous than the other. So those two are going to be symmetrical. I'm going to have some kind of stream, river, frozen area running down the center with a raised portion in the middle. And then I didn't want it to be exactly identical, so I'm going to put hills or some kind of cliffs in this corner, and then to balance it out, rather than doing exactly the same thing, I'm going to build some kind of crumbling ruins that can also be defensive positions. And this will be an example of my winging it, because I don't really know what they're going to look like yet, but that is the plan. So first thing I'm going to do is get out my foam cutter and cut out these triangular. Alright, we have made some progress. I cut out the 2 sections and decided why have those bits of foam go to waste, so I'm going to put them on the edges just to, add to the terrain. Cut out some raised sections for the corners, and then I've had some pink foam lying around forever. Cut out a couple sections to make a big raised area. I'll probably also do something up top so it's not so flat. But I decided to do something weird. Obviously, we need a way for the figures to get up onto the hill. So normally I would just put a gentle slope somewhere, but the thing with this pink foam insulation is once it gets old and dry, it snaps. It's almost as fun as popping bubble wrap. And so I just broke off a bunch of chunks and piled them up, and I'm thinking if I paint them well and place them well, they can look like chunks of rock and ice that have sheared off and piled up. And right now nothing is glued down. It's all just lying there so I can kind of get an idea. Because like I said, I have a loose plan, but I'm still a person who wings it at heart. So I like what we've got so far, but this whole broken bits of foam has given me an idea for the center rather than just a hill. Got something else up my sleeve that I think will work, but I'm going to think on it a little more. So my next things to consider are, what am I going to use for the ruins over here? And how am I going to do the frozen stream or river? The best way I've seen it done is using a torch. Hold it close to the foam and melt kind of a trough. I don't own a torch, and frankly I would probably do some unintended damage if I did, so I need to come up with a way to do that. But those are my next 2 things to work on. Alright, I came up with a strategy for doing the river. I had in my little workroom one of those long-handled fireplace lighters. Now, it didn't go as deep as the torches that I've seen in videos, but it looks pretty cool, and I could probably do more, but as luck would have it, I started running out of gas. But I like the way it looks so much that I think I might use it on some of these other edges. Definitely gives it that melted look. So yeah, I think I'll be doing more with this, but yeah, the lighter. Alright, so I coaxed a little more heat out of the lighter, and so I made the center section deeper and cut a few more just funky little places here and there. And I worked on the edges of some of the spaces, melted those down. Then I put the lighter away before I completely lost control. And this stuff here gave me an idea. So I took my foam cutter, and I don't know how well you can see this, but I cut cracks in a couple sections. And I'm thinking if I paint it with dark blue in the cracks, a brighter blue, and then some white on top, it can look like ice that's fracturing. So another neat little thing. Alright, so I looked around, and like a lot of wargamers, I keep bits and pieces of packing material just in case I can ever use them. And I think somewhere in amongst these bits and pieces are the makings of some good ruins. Now right now they're, as you can see, smooth and clean edges, mostly funky curves. Probably not the best fit for what I'm looking for in this state. But the cool thing about this kind of styrofoam is when you break it, it breaks very rough and crumbly, so it's easy to make it look like actual crumbled ruins. And then we paint it the proper colors, give it a little shading, and it will work. So I think this is going to be our next step. Alright, we are very close to having a plan. Broke up some of the white foam to create ruins. And obviously you need to leave chunks lying around to represent the rubble. If you want crumbled ruins, then the bits that crumbled off needed to fall somewhere. We'll do more than what I've got lying here. This is just a representative amount. Now my idea for the middle is big stacked slabs that will form a bridge, which I think will be fun. Now, in looking at it, I'm realizing that there's still a lot of smoothness to this. So I'm going to go through when I get to that stage, and I'm going to cut cracks around a lot of the edges of some of these places. So that's one thing I'll need to do. I want it to really look icy and broken. And the hill needs more. At the moment, it's not as tall as some bits of the ruins, so it's kind of lame. So I'm going to add at least one more level to that and then figure out something interesting to do at the top. But overall, I'm happy with what we've got. So once I figure out what the top of the hill is going to be, I will take all these bits and pieces off, take a few pictures just to make sure I remember where everything is, glue down the bottom, and then begin painting the base layer. Alright, the first layer is down. You can see over here we have the ruins, and I decided to cut lines in it to make it look like, you know, individual blocks of stone. If I left it smooth, it would have given it more of a sci-fi feel. It's not really what I'm going for. Started putting down some sand because I definitely want this to be ground, not ice. I mean, I guess if the ice were thick enough you could build a fortress on it, but that's only good until the spring thaw. You put in corner pieces, cut the notches like I was planning. Same over here. Over here, built the hill up a little more, and I have the first layer down of the rocks that figures will be able to climb on. We'll wind up adding more. Same thing over here. So next we're going to have to do the first layer of painting. I'm thinking about maybe a dark metallic blue for these deep spots. Not really sure what I'm going to do for this little channel here. And then we'll go brown on the places where we have sand. Alright, we've got a quick and dirty first coat on here. Gone gray with the hills. See some of these other sections I went with a light blue. Then I'll highlight that to make it look more like ice. over here we have the ruins, and I did a mixture of gray and brown, and I didn't perfectly blend it. I left swirls of the brown. Thought maybe we could get a little variety of color so it's not so monochrome. And then I went with a very thin watered down gray for the bed of this frozen stream. I might even highlight with a tiny bit of silver. We'll just see how it looks. But anyway, it's going to need a lot of drying time, but that's where we are now. And now the highlighting is complete. Over here on the rocks, I first highlighted with a mixture of light gray and aqua, then added progressively lighter shades of gray just by adding in white until it was almost completely white. Same with these two formations. I went heavy on the aqua in that mix. Everything else was just progressively lighter shades of gray. And you might notice over here I didn't completely cover, as I went over the flocking, I didn't completely cover in white. I let a lot of it show through so it looks like people have been walking on it, grinding it up. And I wanted the different shades and variations of color to show through also. With the little frozen riverbed, I highlighted with silver just to show, you know, all the cool little, just to show the contours created by the lighter. So next I'm going to work in a few of these things. They're called beach glass. I think I got it at Michael's, and they're, you know, transparent with just a little bit of opacity to look like, you know, big frozen chunks of ice. And then I will add in the snow flocking, and I want to get the snow flocking done before I think about doing the water effects, because you don't want to get that all over the water. Alright, the flocking is done. I went very light with it so that we could still see the various contours and textures. With the ruins, I put it just on the tops, not all over, and a few places where they would stand, but not on the sides. And because I wanted it thin, I just used my spray adhesive to hold it down. I sprayed over, you know, spraying straight down onto the parts where I wanted there to be some snow, sprinkled it on fairly lightly, let it dry, shook the excess off, and then I sprayed over it with hairspray because that will help keep it in place. Also did something cool. I took a couple of the larger transparent stones and I put them over here where the deep water is going to be. I think that's going to look neat. Now, as far as the water effects, I have two options. I have this stuff, Easy Water, and I have the Scenorama stuff. The Easy Water has to be heated and it will come out transparent. Scenorama does not have to be heated and it's already tinted blue. I think I'm going to use both. My idea is to put the transparent stuff up here because it makes sense to me that shallow water that's probably snow melt is going to freeze completely, whereas the deep water, maybe it's even connected to the ocean, is not going to. So I'm going to go transparent up top, tinted blue down on the bottom. Alright, since I believe in sharing successes and failures, let's take a look at the failure that is my river. I'm not sure what happened. I've used this stuff a couple times before and not had any problems, but it's been a while. I don't know if I heated it too quickly, to too high a temperature, if there were some impurities in it, if it reacted badly with the paint or the styrofoam, but the end result is my cool icy river looks like the governor of Michigan was in charge of it. Is that too soon? Oh well. So anyway, it actually looks better than it did. When I first poured it, there were huge bubbles like the size of my thumbnail. But since this stuff can actually be melted down again and again, I broke out my lighter and was able to melt down the worst of the bubbles. So I don't really know where I'm going to go from here. In the big picture, I like the way the board looks. I'm just disappointed in this aspect. But the center is going to be covered with the slabs of foam, like the icy, rocky slabs. So we'll see. I might just leave it and figure it's toxic. I could sprinkle some snow flocking over it to kind of de-emphasize the grossness of the water. I'll keep thinking on it. But anyway, yeah, there's my first misstep on this project. Otherwise, pretty happy with it. The deep water with the blue stuff, it doesn't look too bad. It's not too deep, it's glossy, it looks nice overall. So, and here it is. Got the middle part built, did lots of highlighting, and I tried some things with the weird discolored, messed up frozen river. Tried adding in some of the blue, made it look green, sprinkled a little snow over it. I'm just going to have to accept that this is the one piece of the project that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. So for the future, one thing I've learned is I need to figure out how this stuff really works. I obviously didn't know as much about it as I thought, so if anyone watching thinks they know what I did wrong, feel free to leave it in the comments. Another thing that I would probably do is I think I could have put a lot more details into some of these slabs here. A lot more cracks, a lot more finish. But overall, I am very happy with the way it turned out. And I think my winter wood elf guys especially look really nice on here. Looking forward to having some nice games of Song of Blades and Heroes. So, thanks for watching.